facts that will mess with your perception of time. Anne Frank and Martin Luther King Jr. would be the same age if they were alive today. Queen Elizabeth and Marilyn Monroe were born the same year. They even met when both were 30. George Washington died 25 years before the first dinosaur fossil was ever discovered, meaning he had no idea dinosaurs existed. Woolly mammoths were still roaming the Earth 1,000 years after the pyramids were built. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the moon landing than to the building of the Great Pyramid. NASA was already exploring space before scientists even agreed on how plate tectonics worked. Betty White was older than sliced bread. By the time women gained the right to vote in Switzerland, NASA had already driven a rover on the moon. Karl Marx wrote a letter to Abraham Lincoln congratulating him on his re-election. Oxford University existed for centuries before the Aztec Empire was founded. The fax machine was invented the same year the first wagon crossed the Oregon Trail. The Ottoman Empire still existed the second to last time the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. Star Wars came out the same year France used the guillotine for its final execution. The last known widow of a Civil War soldier died just months before Obama was elected president. Another widow, Helen Jackson, revealed in 2017 that she had secretly married a Civil War veteran at 17. She lived until 2020, making her the last known Civil War widow, 155 years after the war ended. The grandson of America's 10th president, John Tyler, is still alive today. 3 generations of that family have spanned over 230 years, nearly all of US history. The world's current oldest person has lived longer than the time between the US Constitution taking effect and her birth. Stegosauruses were older to T-Rexes than T-Rexes are to us. In 1903, the New York Times said human flight was 1 million years away, just 2 months before the Wright brothers flew. The Eiffel Tower was completed the same year Van Gogh painted Starry Night. Harvard didn't offer calculus when it opened, because calculus hadn't been invented yet. Charlie Chaplin died the same year Apple was incorporated. From Pluto's discovery in 1930 to when it was downgraded in 2006, it still hadn't completed one orbit around the Sun. Shakespeare was alive when Britain began colonizing the Americas. Picasso lived long enough to play Pong. Nintendo was founded while Jack the Ripper was still on the loose. Microsoft was founded while Spain was still under a fascist dictatorship. The first iPhone came out the same summer as the last Harry Potter book. We landed on the moon before suitcases had wheels. A day on Venus is longer than a year on Venus. The US is younger than the time it took between Columbus and independence, meaning it's still not as old as that gap. Frank Sinatra died the same day the Seinfeld finale aired. Thomas Edison died in 1931, the same year the Empire State Building opened, lit up by thousands of light bulbs. Interracial marriage was still illegal in 16 states when the US was preparing to send people to the moon. Octopuses predate the dinosaurs. Ketchup wasn't put in upside-down bottles until the 1990s. The pyramids were as ancient to Romans as Romans are to us. If that 90s show had been released the same number of years after the 1990s as that 70s show was after the 1970s, it would have come out in 2017. 6% of all humans who have ever lived are alive right now. Abraham Lincoln signed the paperwork to create the Secret Service on the day he was assassinated. Princess Diana and Mother Teresa died within days of each other in 1997. The Brooklyn Bridge was under construction during the Battle of Little Bighorn. We are as far away today from the Phantom Menace as that film was from the original Star Wars. The first ever high five happened in 1977. Grass didn't exist until right before the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs hit. No one actually knows who named Earth. Sharks are older than the rings of Saturn. If you got $110,000 every day since the pyramids were built, you'd only have about 6% of Elon Musk's wealth. 1 million seconds is about 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 1990. 1 trillion seconds, over 31,000 years. And so on.